This is the Film Geeks podcast.
Will the Losers Club discover the mysteries behind the strange happenings afoot in Maine? Will War Machine live up to the expectations, and is Ghost Story the most poetic horror film yet? Inquiring minds want to know, and we tackle all of this and more on this edition of the Film Geeks podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to yet another incredible, wondrous, prodigious, and fascinating edition of the Film Geeks podcast, powered by Indian Nerve. This is Abhishek, and joining me as always are Arindam and Anir.
Hey, what's up?
This has been a very slow news week, so we are hoping for a very curtailed edition of this podcast this week. But before we move on to the topics, I just want to let you know that I have got a couple of really cool, awesome, amazing action figures. The first one which I got sometime last week was an Iron Fist figure, something which is very rare in Indian markets. So obviously it's sold online at very exorbitant prices, but I ran into one in one of the malls nearby. So I got it at a very low price of 1100 rupees. And the second one which I've just ordered is a Daredevil action figure, which I have been waiting to get for the longest time, and I've got it at a very, very low rate. Do you guys also, I know Arindam does, but Anirban, are you also into collecting action figures?
Yeah, I am not really that much into collecting action figures. I have a few of them, but it's not something that comes very naturally to me. You know, when I walk into a store, it's not the first thing that attracts me. I don't know, that's how it is. I've been more attracted to board games than to action figures. Maggie, as in Mrigank, is big into collecting action figures. He has gifted me a few sets, but I'm not one who gets excited by those. So I value them as things that have sentimental value attached to them. But as in itself, I'm not that keen on collecting them.
See, I collect only stuff that I really like rather than collecting for the sake of collecting. Suppose I like a book and there's an interesting character design, and if there is something that, if they have made a toy out of it, and if it's not very expensive, I'll try to get it. Recently, I have pre-ordered something. It's called the Batman Expression Pack. What it basically is that it's you remember the Batman the animated series, right? So
yes,
it's basically like 5 different faces of Batman. Like one of it is he's bashed up, the other is just Bruce Wayne, and you have tons of accessories on it. So it's a really cool an action figure to collect. And I am also I'm trying to get into toy photography. I love that, and eventually I will be doing a few stop motion stuff just for myself. So that will be very helpful in creating some neat looking things. Also, the previous month I was supposed to go to Goa, but as our plans with Goa's plan out 95% fail. So one of my friends, his parents came down, and fortunately it was cancelled. So I had saved enough for that trip, and since the plan was cancelled, and Amazon, seeing that I was a bit upset, they decided to have a comic sale basically, and they were letting go of stuff on a 50 to 60% discount. So I think I spent on graphic novels more than I've ever spent in a single month in my entire life. I managed to get the entire run of the Mike Mignola's Hellboy library editions. They go for around 2.5 to 3K, and luckily I got them each at 1500. So that's dirt cheap compared to what you're getting. And also there are quite a few others. I got the Saga, and I got American Aliens and Superior Foes of Spider-Man, and lots of stuff. The last of them will be coming out during the past few weeks. They've been shipped already, so I should be receiving them next week. So excited for that.
Yeah, you've been sharing photos of those comics for a while now. I think they look fantastic, especially the Hellboy one. That it looked like a leather-bound thing, or is it just?
It is no, it's a cloth-bound thing, and the cover is actually a Polaroid, it's painted on a Polaroid photo.
Yeah.
So this is one of the most unique stuff, and also it's gold embossed, the lettering. It's really, really cool. If you like Hellboy, this is the only way that you should be reading it.
Yeah, I love comics and books that have packaged in a unique way. That's why I love some of the books, especially by Vertigo. Vertigo, I think knows how to know how to package their books. and some of them are very fantastically, packaged, and the artwork in them and the covers itself is so fantastic that you naturally get drawn to, those books and you end up buying them. So there was a store out here in Ambience Mall in Gurgaon. So this store was they were shutting down, and this had like a big collection of comics and graphic novels. So when these guys were shutting down, I was fortunate enough to visit it that day itself, and they had a going out of business sale, and I was very lucky to have been there because I bought a lot of comics, and one of the best things that I bought out there because I got it for really cheap was the third volume, the collective volume of your Sandman. It's a huge package. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I think it's the Absolute Edition, right?
Yes, the
It's the
Absolute Edition, and
Yeah, those are fucking awesome, man.
yeah, and this fucking expensive too at the same time.
Yeah,
Before
very
that,
expensive.
yeah, before that I had never even considered buying one because it was like 5,000 for one volume. I got this for
Right.
I got this for 1,500. I'm saying I'm not leaving this in
Fuck.
the yeah, I'm not leaving this in the store. I I got that. I got one omnibus of Ex Machina, which I'm still trying to find the other omnibuses. But it's awesome if you find those books which look amazing and obviously are amazing to read as well.
The only Absolute Edition I have is of the All-Star Superman book by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, and even that I got because it was extremely cheap. Like comparatively, it's not like 1,500 cheap, but I got it for 2,500, which is almost 50% or maybe 60% of its original MRP. And it is one book that you should be reading on a big, big pages deserve because Frank Quitely is drawing, so the details must be seen in that.
So have you guys read Justice League's The Nail series?
Yeah, man, that's like the Bible. I was just talking about this after the Justice League trailer came out because even that is Batman forming the Justice League.
Yeah.
So Nail is also a form of, because Superman isn't there in that world.
Correct. And I just was trying to remember this and I was thinking about it because I couldn't remember the name of the series that it ran. It's a three-part mini series, one-shot series, if you guys don't know. Abhishek, I'm sure you have read this. And I had completely wiped it from my mind and I was searching for it online and I found it and I checked it's very expensive on Amazon. I think it's retailing for around 3,500 or something. But it's one series that actually shows Batman in a way that I don't think I've seen ever. They actually show him being broken, so it's pretty unique in that way, and I actually feel that it's one of those things that every comic lover should read. Absolutely.
What I love about The Nail is that it all starts literally with the nail because in that as everyone knows with Superman's origin, his ship crash lands near Jonathan and Martha Kent's truck as they are driving back to the Kent farm. In this edition, in this alternate universe, this of course is in Elseworlds, written by Alan Davis, I think. Martha Kent and Jonathan Kent's truck, the tires get punctured by a nail on the road, and they can never see the spacecraft getting crashed, and obviously Superman or Clark Kent, or as you would in that world, we don't really know his name. I'm sure it's not Clark Kent. He is raised a Mormon, so he doesn't even know that he is Superman, or he's never even explored that he has superpowers. So that facet was interesting. I think Anirban, more than the nail, I don't know if you guys will agree with me. I think the definitive Batman in a Justice League story has to be Tower of Babel. I am, in fact, planning to order it sometime next week because I'm waiting for the prices to drop a little bit. I've been tracking this book for quite a while. So it's available in JLA Volume 4, by the way. So you guys might want to check that out. This is one of the best, not just Batman stories, one of the best JLA stories. It's one of the best comic book stories of all time. What basically happens, there's this supervillain, and I won't reveal who it is. He infects the world with a virus where words have no meaning, and the Justice League is trapped within their own fears and insecurities. Like, for example, he gives Flash epilepsy. So every time he tries to move, he gets epileptic fits. Martian Manhunter is,
His skin gets laced with magnesium, so as soon
Yeah.
as he's exposed to air, he
exposed
gets
to air. The Wonder Woman is trapped in her mind fighting with some of her enemies, and the best is Green Lantern, who's turned blind. So all of this, works. It completely almost destroys the Justice League, and it is one of the greatest stories you'll ever read. You guys should check that out. And speaking about great stories, one of the best stories when I was growing up, obviously I watched this first, but I read the book later. This was a story called It. And it was obviously a 1986 novel by Stephen King. And I watched the miniseries, the 1990 miniseries starring Tim Curry first. And it is being rebooted, as most things are. This seems like, in fact, a year where most of Stephen King's properties are being rebooted. So It Part 1, The Losers Club, its trailer just dropped this week. It's an adaptation, like I said, of the Stephen King novel of the same name. It's intended to be the first installment in a planned duology, as well as being the second adaptation following Tommy Lee Wallace's miniseries in 1990. And the film tells the story of 7 children in Derry, Maine, who are terrorized by this creature called It, only to face their own personal demons in the process. The film is being directed by Andres Muschietti, the same director who directed the 2013 horror film Mama, and is written by Chase Palmer, Cary Fukunaga from True Detective, and Gary Dauber. Bill Skarsgård stars as Pennywise, and Jaden Leverhage stars as Bill Denbrough. Jeremy Ray Taylor, Sophie Lillis, Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, Wyatt Oleff, Joseph Jacobs, Jack Dylan Grazer, and Nicholas Hamilton are all featured in supporting roles. So this trailer just dropped last week. So what did you guys think of it?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of reboots. I think most of the time they have to take it in a very different direction for it to succeed. I have made myself very clear on this. I fucking hate clowns. And so, they creep me out. When I see a clown on the road, people, who have painted their faces and are trying to hand out, leaflets, pamphlets, or just trying to entertain people, I just cross to the other side of the road. So for me, clowns are something which I generally avoid. It's not like I'm scared of them, but I just don't want to be near them. The trailer itself looks very good. It actually, I watched it at 3 a.m. and it creeped me out. And you can chalk it up to my reactions to clown also, but it looks pretty good. At the same time, it's the thing about it is it's not really about the clown. Pennywise is not. It's just a form that it prefers. Trailer itself, it conveys as much, and that it's a supernatural entity, and the fact that it involves kids actually, I think is pretty great. I don't know if you guys know, but Cary Fukunaga was actually in line to direct this movie, and I love Cary Fukunaga. Apart from True Detective, the thing that I first watched of his was this movie called Sin Nombre. This is a sort of the border movie. This is a Latino movie, and I can't call it a Mexican movie, but I think it kind of is. So this movie follows the life of this gang who is from Mara Salvatrucha, I think, which is a very big gang out in Latin America, and it's very violent, very, very violent. So it follows the life of one guy who is in the Mara Salvatrucha, and when he tries to flee from the gang, what happens after that. So you guys should definitely watch that. And I was very excited when I heard that Cary Fukunaga's next movie was supposed to be it. But I think there were a lot of clashes with the studios, which is why he was replaced with Andres Muschietti. Andres Muschietti again is one casting choice which I'm not really on board with. Mostly because he's only done one movie before this. Mama in itself wasn't that scary for me. It was well presented, but I'll say that the ending itself left me wanting more. It's left me unsatisfied. So I'm not really sure how they're going to take it forward with Andres Muschietti. But at the same time, because Cary Fukunaga is still the one who's written the screenplay, so I think it still might be good.
Cary Fukunaga, I think, would have been the best choice for this movie. I loved his Beast of No Nation. I think he made that after he quit True Detective Season 2, most probably. And Beast of No Nation was one of the best performances by Idris Elba, and it was shot so well. And I don't know if you guys know the fact, but did you notice who the cinematographer for it is and why it was looking so good? It's Chung Hoon Chung. Okay, I'll just list three movies. The first movie is The Handmaiden by Park Chan-wook. The second movie is Stoker by Park Chan-wook, and the third movie is Old Boy by Park Chan-wook. So he's the same. So they got the same cinematographer. That is why it was looking so freaking awesome. Also, the thing is that I don't think the original. I haven't seen, but correct me if I'm wrong. The original It miniseries was only iconic because of Tim Curry, of course. I don't think it. I didn't think it played that well, and I think the movie and the story will be better adapted in this medium, because I think the script by Cary Fukunaga obviously has to be a better version from what was earlier presented. And also many people are comparing it for Stranger Things. I don't know if it was because they had the same cast member, if you remember, who was also riding a bicycle, but it looked creepier. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I don't usually watch horror movies alone, because I don't tend to do that, but this will be an exception. I'll try and watching this in theaters.
See, the thing is, this is what irritates me, okay, and this irritates me to no end. Comparing everything to Stranger Things. If it has kids, if all your listeners out there, if you are doing that, don't. Because before Stranger Things, in the 80s, like 30 years from ago, there was an entire genre of horror films based on that. Okay, Stranger Things is not reinventing the wheel. They are just giving it a new paint job. As much as I love Stranger Things, I hate it when people don't give credit where credit is due. Because people like Stephen King and people like Joe Dante and people like John Landis were already doing these things way before these things came in vogue. I know I'm a huge 80s fan. I love everything about the 80s, including the bad B movies. But this is just a new reinvention of the styles which are already established. So please don't compare anything which looks a little retro to Stranger Things. All right, I just had to get it out of my chest. Let's talk about War Machine, which is directed by David Michôd, the guy who directed Animal Kingdom. War Machine will open at a limited release and will arrive on Netflix on May 26, 2017. The film stars Brad Pitt, Emery Cohen, R.J. Seiler, Topher Grace, Anthony Michael Hall, Anthony Hayes, John Magaro, Scoot McNairy, Will Poulter, Alan Ruck, Lakeith Stanfield, Josh Stewart, Meg Tilly, Tilda Swinton, and Ben Kingsley. This is a superb cast, and the trailer just dropped last week, and it looked fucking awesome because, you know, for me at least, Brad Pitt has always been at his best when he abandons all pretense of being a movie star. Whenever Brad Pitt goes deep into his character, when he becomes the character which he's portraying and not just acting like Brad Pitt, the movie star, that's when Brad Pitt is at his best. And this seems like one of those movies. This looks like a satire. This looks like something between Doctor Strangelove and Three Kings. And this is a movie which, it's based on a true story, but I think it's going with a more dark comedy route. I love what I just saw in the trailer. It's a 2-minute trailer. It's out on YouTube. So what else did you guys think about it?
I think the person who cast Ben Kingsley as Hamid Karzai should be given every award that is possible. That's like the most perfect casting choice that I've ever seen.
Exactly what I was thinking. Exactly what I was thinking.
Right?
Mandarin was the perfect cast. Ben Kingsley was talking Mandarin.
This movie was very reminiscent of Charlie Wilson's War for me, because even though it was a war movie, they don't show much, there aren't many aspects of outright war. We did see a few scenes, but I think we'll delve more into the background process of what goes into making a war. Also, the thing is that I love David Michôd. One of his most underrated movies was Hesher. It was inspired from the life of Cliff Burton. So I'm really looking forward to this movie, and Netflix is like, this movie, if someone told you that this movie was not going to be released in theaters, it would be outrageous. But we are living in a world in which the best movies are coming out immediately for everyone's consumption, rather than you don't need to go to the theaters to enjoy movies of this quality. And this is a great time to live in.
As far as my opinions go, I'm actually going to go the other direction. I'm not too excited about this. Apart from Ben Kingsley, who has been casted perfectly in this, the trailer itself didn't do too much for me. I actually prefer the first trailer where they didn't give out anything. If you have noticed, historically movies like this don't do well. Movies about war in the Middle East and all, they tend to do well critically, but they don't tend to do well otherwise. I mean, when I say critically, there have been very few. Remember the last movie by Bill Murray, who did, I think it was Rock the Casbah? That didn't do well. Of course, it's not really a similar storyline. What I'm saying is that based in the Middle East, movies don't really tend to do that well. And I don't know if it is a function of the topic itself or whether it's some other function of why the movies don't work. But they rarely do. And in recent memory, I can't remember a single movie based on this topic that has done well. The crack.
American Sniper, dude. It was the highest grossing Warner Movies movie for the past few years.
Did it? Okay, tell me one thing. Did you like it? I didn't like
I
it at all.
liked it as,
As
it
a
was an
one-time watch.
America fuck yeah movie, yeah. But yeah, amazing performances and and that toy baby especially.
But it's a one-time watch. Won't you agree?
Right.
It's a one-time
But it did
watch.
deliver on the. Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. I don't know if it's a one-time watch because I've just seen it once, but I wouldn't mind it watching it again.
You're proving my point, man.
But you were saying about the critical success and the monetary, right? But it did
Correct.
deliver on the monetary thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you an example
give
of
you that
a
one.
critical and a monetary success. The Hurt Locker. That's it. It won an Oscar. It was one of the biggest hits of the year, and it had amazing performances, a great soundtrack, and it did really well at the box office as well. So, yeah,
Zero Dark
I
30
understand.
as well, right?
Zero Dark 30 as well. But
I don't like
you know,
those
even
movies.
Three Kings for that matter. No, I get that. I completely understand. But I think you'd be remiss when you say that, these movies don't do well in the box office because they actually do, because that's what the American public wants. And it's always been this way since the Vietnam War. After the Vietnam War in the 70s, you had some amazing movies come out. And they're still being made to this day. We just had fucking Kong last week, a war, which is a movie, which is not basically about the war, but it's set around the Vietnam War. You had Apocalypse Now, you had Platoon, you had Full Metal Jacket, you had these amazing films after the Gulf War, you had some more great films like Three Kings, you had Jarhead, and now you have, after this latest Afghanistan war and Afghanistan war against terror, you have movies like Zero Dark 30, you have movies like
Eye in the
movie
Sky
else?
also. It was really well about the drone warfare, right? Aaron Paul
Yeah,
and
about the
Alex
drone warfare.
Winter.
Yeah. So I think, that I completely understand you saying that you don't like these movies, and I also don't prefer some of watching a lot of war films, at least the ones set in the current day and age, because there are a lot of flaws which you can catch. I love my Second World War films though, but I think these movies do really well, and that's exactly why people like Ben Affleck and people like even Chris Pratt, for that matter, are agreeing to do more war films, and which says a lot, doesn't it?
Fair enough. I'll take back my words. I guess. Then I'll rephrase it to say that these movies like this don't do much for me. So I am not somebody who will get excited for War Machine.
But will you be excited for ghost stories though? Because the next film which we are talking about is a ghost story. And it's obviously produced by A24, which is fast becoming one of my favorite production houses. They are the producer and distributor behind Ex Machina, The Witch, and The Black Coat's Daughter. And they have added what seems like another indie gem to their creative platter with a ghost story. It's a paranormal tale about a lonely spirit, namely Casey Affleck, who drapes its spectral form with a bedsheet and silently observes the life of a disconnected widow, Rooney Mara. So basically, he's known as a creep in Hollywood, so he's creeping on his on-screen wife in this trailer. Did you guys watch the trailer? And if you did, what did you think of it?
This reminded me a lot of that Black Mirror episode, the one in which, she transfers her husband's consciousness into it. Somehow it reminded me a lot of that, the way it was shot and everything. And also,
This is the one with Domhnall Gleeson that you're talking about, the android.
correct,
Right? Yeah.
right, and yeah. And also David Lowery is an excellent director. He made a movie which I was not interested to watch at all, and I just watched it at a whim, and I just loved it. It's Pete's Dragon. He recently made the remake of it last year, and it was very heartfelt, and I loved the way it went. And A24, like Abhishek mentioned, is becoming one fantastic place. Annapurna Pictures was that, but they made some shitty movies. But I think A24 has a good track record till now. And this looks like this movie will also be added to it will maintain that quality.
I actually have a lot of questions after I watched the trailer. One is, Why the drapes? As in, I understand that it's going to follow your timeline from way during the early, historic times to the present day, and that's how I interpreted the trailer itself. I didn't understand that part. It has to make sense to me. But just for that fact alone, I'm going to watch it. And I can't disagree on the fact that it's going to have some phenomenal acting. I'm not a big fan of Rooney Mara, but it's just a function of how she looks rather than her acting chops. And Casey Affleck, as I said, he is a very underrated actor. Whether he's a creep or not, doesn't detract from the fact that he is a phenomenal actor. Just like Roman Polanski, you can't disagree that even though he likes really young girls, and he still makes fantastic movies. There's no denying that.
True,
And
true.
that's the thing about this movie. I'm sure that everything about this movie is going to be great. I'm just very, very curious as to why the drapes, because it's a very literal translation, of ghosts in a white drape, and that for me will be one of the prime reasons why I'll go to watch this movie.
I think it's also a deconstruction factor that plays into this. I'm certain that if they had a hovering ghost in CGI, I don't think it would have made as an impact as we saw in the trailer. Because even from a visual perspective alone, it looked very neat. So I think that is the reason why. Maybe let's see from the movie itself.
Yeah, the trailer, what I thought was, it was interestingly quiet and very resonant, and it's very poignant, very elusive. Probably I would have been completely taken out if this was Patrick Swayze from The Ghost. You just have a spirit there with a blue outline and kind of see through. I would have been completely taken out. But yeah, this in fact the entire way that the spirit or the ghost is portrayed in a ghost story, that definitely makes you question as to what is going on and what is this trying to portray. Because if you would see the figure is always at the back, behind someone, and it's always looking, so we not really know if the characters can actually see the ghost or actually sense its presence. That remains to be seen. But this movie was already shown in Sundance earlier this year in January. And like Arindam mentioned, it's written and directed by David Lowery, who directed The Amazing Pete's Dragon and The Shitty Peter Pan. So that way he's balanced his karma out. This movie opens in July 7th and also stars Will Oldham, Sonia Acevedo, Rob Zabreski, and Liz Frank, and obviously Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck. This movie already is receiving very, very positive reviews from film critics and currently holds a 92% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So that does it for this edition of the Film Geeks podcast. But before we say goodbye on this very short update, let's go on to Off the Track and let's talk about things which we are reading, what we are going to read, and what we are watching and what we are going to watch. So let's start with you, Anirban. What are you reading?
I'm not reading anything. I'm actually catching up on office work if you're talking about reading. But I'm watching Samurai Jack. They brought it back on Adult Swim, which makes it very convenient for them, in the sense that now they are able to explore a lot more adult themes with this. And the artwork has, I don't know, it looks so good that it's actually transcended what the original Samurai Jack series used to be, and it's become really. It was already a cult series, mind you, but now I think it's become something that it's become a piece of art, become something that I am desperately waiting each week to watch.
Episode 2 was something else, right? That Sergio Leone tribute that they gave was out of this world with Ecstasy of Gold-esque soundtrack intact. I just finished watching Rick and Morty. They did a double April Fool's thing. They had a short video on their Facebook page which was looping again and again. So everyone thought that this would be fake. And they had a link to it. When you clicked on the link, it said April Fools, and there was a video which you had to click. And if you click that video, the entire first episode played. I'm not sure if you guys watched it, but it is amazing. It is one of, it's like back to form for them. I don't think they ever went out of that form, but it was certainly I'm very excited for what's going to happen in this coming season. Also, I was sad to find out that my favorite comedy show of all time, and I don't exaggerate when I say this, but this is my favorite comedy show, Review with Forrest McNeil, it just ended with season 3 and with 3 episodes only. So if you want to watch a very dark, depressing comedy show, this is the one for you. It's basically about one person who reviews life. So he doesn't do movies, he doesn't do TV shows, he doesn't do anything. He just reviews various things of life, like eating an ice cream. Like how could you fuck up eating an ice cream? But he manages to do that. It's basically purgatory, and that is what happens to you if someone is stuck in limbo. This show is it. It's one of the most depressing things that you'll ever see, and I highly recommend you check it out. I don't think it has even 25 or 30 episodes total in its entire runtime, and I just totally loved it.
Right. One show which I am really excited that it is back is Attack on Titan Season 2. It just debuted this Saturday. So I'm watching that. It continues with the story of Eren and Mikasa and all these characters that you've come to know and love. And it's returning after 2 years. So it just debuted, the Season 2 in fact, debuted this Saturday. So you guys should go and check that out. And also one other thing which I'm really excited about is WrestleMania 33. Which is this Sunday, and by the time you listen to this podcast, it must have been over. And we may or may not have a special coming up on the Film Geeks podcast. Quite a number of matches on this show, and this show is about 6 hours long. So this entire weekend will be full of wrestling. We finished their Hall of Fame with Kurt Angle being the main inductee, along with Rick Rude and Rock and Roll Express, and you have NXT with Tommy End, or as he's known in the WWE as Aleister Black, debuting. And also Shinsuke Nakamura, I think, just finished off his last match in the NXT brand, and probably he'll be moving to Raw or SmackDown come the start of the new season. So just a small glimpse for you guys. The matches on the WWE WrestleMania 33 card are Neville versus Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight Championship, the 2017 Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Universal Championships, Undertaker versus Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins versus Triple H in a non-sanctioned match, Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles in a singles match, Bayley versus Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax in a fatal 4-way elimination match of the WWE Raw Women's Championship, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the US Championship, John Cena and Nikki Bella in a mixed tag match versus Miz and Maryse, Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Cesaro and Sheamus in a triple threat ladder match for the WWE Tag Team Championship, and finally Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch versus Natalya versus Mickie James versus Carmella versus Naomi for the 6-pack WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. So this is something for all pro wrestling fans. You guys should be definitely excited for this. And also there is an ROH card, super card in fact, scheduled for this week. Are you guys excited for WrestleMania as well? Arindam, I know you'll be watching.
I think it has become a semi-annual event for me. I just watch WrestleMania and Royal Rumble now. I don't think the regular shows hold any interest for me anyhow, but I'll also be watching the Raw after Mania because I think that is the main event right now. Everyone tunes in for that rather than WrestleMania.
And this time, I think the SmackDown after WrestleMania also would be a very exciting thing to watch because SmackDown, as you know, is a live event as well. So I think Raw after WrestleMania, SmackDown after WrestleMania, and NXT after WrestleMania will be the events to watch. And that brings our show to a close. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/IndianNerve, on Facebook at facebook.com/IndianNerve, on Twitter at twitter.com/IndianNerve, on Instagram at instagram.com/IndianNerve, or visit us at www.indiannerve.com. I'd like to thank all you listeners for your support, and please do like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. Please let us know if you would like us to talk about any of your favorite shows or films. From all of us here, wherever you're listening, we hope you are having a great day, and may the force be with you always.